Welcome to the Bright Ideas Podcast.
So the things that you were doing in the beginning when you first launched Sourcify versus what you're doing now, did you luck out and get really solid product market fit back then, or have you iterated steadily?
No, we've iterated. I mean, it definitely was a process. I mean, going from 2017, where we were just charging companies up front, it felt like every single month we're back on the treadmill. You know, how do we continue to increase our top of funnel to, get more customers in every single month, because there was no, kind of recurring revenue there. Whereas going through Y Combinator, obviously SaaS is so big when it comes to B2B businesses. And so we were really kind of pushed to figure out, well, what is our SaaS model? How do we have more recurring relationships and business with the companies we manufacture for? And so that's really where we, started building software around project management for sourcing teams and manufacturing. And that's what, Sourcify has become today, where companies rely on us to manage their production, to work with factories. And then we have our sourcing teams in Asia that, actually do the work in the background, because for anyone that's manufactured a product, there's a lot of moving parts to it, and it can't be all automated.
So it sounds to me like you're really a managed service with some software wrapped around it. Is that about right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the software empowers our team and our customers to, perform better and have more visibility. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's still people in the background communicating, managing production, handling quality control, handling the freight. There's a lot of moving parts to going from I've got an idea to produce this type of product to actually having that product land at your warehouse.
So I completely understand why the managed service provides a whole bunch of value, but the rest of it is just project management. Why did you build your own software tool instead of just using an existing tool?
It was more so for that SaaS component. I mean, we could use an existing tool, I think, but at the end of the day, we wanted to make a project management tool that was very specific for the industry in terms of going through each step of the process of manufacturing a product and importing it. And we also, of course, wanted to sell that project management system under our Sourcify brand.
So company valuation perspective was really a heavy influence in why you built your own software, because then you could call yourself a SaaS company and then you can raise money at far more favorable valuations.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when it comes to valuations and comes to building businesses, I mean, I think that's something that should be looked at. I mean, software is a bit of a cheat code. I mean, you see the valuations of these companies in terms of 10, 20x revenue. I mean, it's really eye-opening. It's nuts compared to an e-commerce company where maybe it's 3 to 5 EBITDA. Now it's maybe grown a bit in kind of the Amazon FBA world with so many big buyers coming into the space. But, I think that's something you should also consider when building a business is, there's kind of two questions I ask myself when doing anything is, number one, am I going to regret not doing this in the future? And number two, is it going to be fun and enjoyable? Is it something that I want to learn? And so those two questions kind of guide my journey through entrepreneurship and also both personally. If I'm invited to a dinner or an event, whatever it may be, I kind of ask myself those two questions, and that will push my decision one way or the other.
So you mentioned you basically tripled last year the company's size. So what you did in the beginning, hanging around in Facebook groups and providing valuable content, that only scales so far. So where is all the growth coming from now? Is it the more traditional, ads and SEO and maybe some email outreach, or what does that look like?
Yeah, right now it's still all inbound and referral based. So if you Google, China manufacturing Vietnam, all of that, Sourcify comes up as one of the top search results. And honestly, most of our business right now is referral or word of mouth. It's pretty incredible. I mean, I think we're become pretty well known in the e-commerce world, but for us, I mean, typically we like to work with that mid-market customer range. And so once we prove success with one customer and start working with them for 6-8 months, a year, then we'll ask them, hey, is there other e-commerce founders that that you think could use our help? And that's really how we've grown.
Okay, so there's been a conscious effort to ask for the referrals. They didn't just fall out of the sky and land in your lap.
Totally. We ask 100%.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about customer onboarding, because if you're getting high levels of customer satisfaction and you're succeeding in asking for referrals, your customer experience must be pretty compelling.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for us, customer onboarding is a longer process than most software companies because we're actually producing physical goods. And so what will typically happen is a company will either send their specs, whether that be a tech pack or CAD. And if they have samples, they'll send that as well to our main sourcing office in Guangzhou. And then we'll go and vet out a handful of factories for them and see which one's going to be best fit to produce samples. Sometimes we'll sample at 2 or 3 factories as well, and then go forward with the process of sending those samples to the customer, seeing if those samples match their expectations. Obviously, sometimes there's multiple sample iterations that we need to go through, and once approved, we go into production, and our team does the production management as well as the quality control. We actually do third-party inspections on every single production run before they're shipped. I always tell this to e-commerce founders and sourcing team members. It doesn't matter if you're working with us or someone else. That third-party inspection is like your insurance. You need to have a third-party inspection before your goods are shipped, and typically before you pay that remaining balance in production.
Because once you pay, you get your money back.
I mean, once you pay, it's extremely hard to get your money back, and it's like, why not? You can even inspect. Let's say it's a big production run. You inspect 2% of the goods, and if 50% of the 2% of goods that are inspected are bad, well, then, you're in a tricky situation with your factory, and you should probably spend more money inspecting a higher percentage of those goods.